And there's one issue more, which I'm going to raise, as I have so many times standing in this particular moment, this particular place on the floor, and that's the DREAM Act. The DREAM Act is a bill which I introduced 16 years ago. 16 years ago, to give young people brought to the United States as infants and toddlers and children who've grown up in this country, have no serious criminal issue that they have been involved in, have graduated from our schools, and simply want a chance for a future in America, the only country they've ever known, the Dreamers. President Obama gave them a chance with an executive order called DACA. He said, you can come forward, submit a $500 filing fee, go through a criminal background check, and we may give you, it's our decision, 2 years temporary protection to stay in this country. You can work in this country, stay here without fear of deportation on a 2-year basis. 780,000 young people stepped forward and did that and were approved. 780,000 of them who now are working across America. 900 of them serve in the United States military. They are undocumented by legal standards, but they have sworn their loyalty to this country and are willing to die for this country. What more could we ask of a young person to prove their loyalty to that flag and to this nation? 900 of them now, protected by DACA. But then President Trump announced September 5th of last year he was going to eliminate that program, eliminate that protection as of March 5th of this year. The clock's ticking. The days of the calendar are turning. 900 in our military, 20,000 teachers across America in grade schools and elementary schools and high schools at all levels, 20,000 of them protected by DACA, will lose their ability to teach starting on March 5th of this year because of President Trump's decision and his announcement. He challenged us. He said, Congress, I don't like this executive order by the previous president. Now pass a law. Now pass a law and do something about it. He asked us to do that months ago, and we have done nothing. Nothing. I believe by January 19th, we need to take this up as one of the critical issues on our agenda. It is absolutely essential. And let me add as well, this president has been critical of immigration. I couldn't disagree with him more. He has taken an approach towards immigration which I believe denies the very basis and foundation of this great nation. I've said it before and I say it with pride. I stand here on the floor of the United States Senate representing the great state of Illinois, the son of an immigrant to this country. My mother was brought here at the age of 2. She was a dreamer in her era, and she grew up in America, raised a family, and had a son who was sworn into the United States Senate. She lived long enough to see that. That's my story. That's my family's story. That's America's story. Sometimes I wonder if the president has heard that story or paid attention to it. Immigration has been at the heart of who we are as Americans. The diversity of this great country, when it comes together in citizenship, is a force to be reckoned with around the world throughout history. And I still believe that as much this day as I've ever believed it. I may not be able to convince the president, but President Obama and others did plead with him to think about these young people, these dreamers, those protected by DACA. And you know what President Trump said about the dreamers? You know what he said in one of his famous, sometimes infamous tweets? He said, we should show great heart. Show great heart, President Trump said, to these young people. That's why I'm here today, making this statement on the floor. Not a long speech, I've spoken many times in the past, but to plead with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle in this closely divided Senate before January 19th to get this job done. Not just for the 780,000 who took advantage of President Obama's executive order, but for those who were eligible and afraid. There were many, thousands, who were eligible for this program but afraid to sign up for it, to turn themselves into the government. And they held back. They're eligible. There's nothing to disqualify them otherwise. Let's give them the same opportunity to be part of the future of this great nation. That's what I believe we can do and should do. 49 Democrats, 51 Republicans, carefully divided. Can we meet in that aisle, enough of us, to create a real majority, a bipartisan majority to solve this? I am convinced we can. As Senator Schumer said earlier, our current presiding officer has weighed in, and I thank him for his efforts, his personal efforts on this issue. We've had long meetings. Sometimes we agreed, sometimes we didn't agree, but that's the nature of the Senate, the nature of compromise, and the nature of a process that the American people are begging us, Democrats and Republicans, to engage in a positive way by January 19th this month. Mr. President, I yield the floor.